All right, so with this week's project, what we are studying are bees. And specifically, we're wanting to learn what are the 3 types of bees. Now, each kid is going to be able to do this in a different project, in a different format, but the information is ultimately going to be the same. We're going to be learning about the 3 bees and what makes them similar and what makes them different. And so what we're going to go through first is basically kind of this critical thinking project, right? So we're not necessarily brainstorming. We already did that to determine what we were going to study and what our question was going to be. But now we are collecting information and we are going to think through it in a critical way in order to make sense of that information and to make sure it's good information, right? So what we're going to start with is we have our 4-part framework for critical thinking, CARP, which means collect data, analyze the data, check it for relevance, and check it for points of view. And the reason we use CARP is number one, because it's easy to remember. Second of all, because pretty much most people know what a carp fish is. It's highly adaptive to pretty much any area, all kinds of variables it can live in. And so we kind of liked that picture when we were thinking of critical thinking, because when you critically think through a topic, you think through all types of variables. So we're going to show you guys an example of what this looks like. So we have on our whiteboard up here, honey, bumble, and solitary. Those are the 3 types of bees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start collecting and gathering information from online, from the data sheet that I sent you guys, and from videos, from books, from trail guides, or I should say natural history guides, whatever it is that you have, just start collecting information and data and put them on some type of card, like an index card, a sticky note, and then we're going to start organizing that information. So first step is to collect information. So you guys are going to do this with your kids, and we're going to kind of give you an example here with sticky notes. All right, Con, so let's start with what you know. What do you know about honeybees?
What I know is that they make the most honey out of all the 3 kinds of bees.
Make the most honey. Okay, stick that up under honeybees. All right, so once we have a decent amount of information on collected on our 3 different types of bees, then we want to start organizing that information. And so we're going to start putting like information together. If you see, we color coordinated by our different bee type, and now we're going to start organizing them and seeing the different characteristics of the bees basically being compared together. And so this is a time when you can also kind of integrate your internet research with, looking at blog posts and reading YouTube or looking at, you know what I mean, watching YouTube videos and all those other things. And you're going to try and kind of start making sense of the data. So we collected our data, and then now what we're doing is we've analyzed our data. And so our first step of analyzing is to compare, contrast, connect data. And so we took all of our different bee types. So our honeybees are in yellow, our bumblebees were in purple, and our solitary bees were in green. And we took our different types and we basically grouped them in categories. So up here we have colonies. Here we have size. What food do they collect? Do they sting? What food do they make? So we made a bunch of different categories. And then we thought about, all right, is there anything that's missing? Is there anything else that we really want to know that we don't already have up here? And we were pretty happy with the information that we had. So next, we were kind of asking about assumptions. And really, our assumptions came up a lot with stingers. And do stingers stay on? Do they fall off? When they fall off, do they die? How painful it is? So we had to go back and fact check a lot of that. And then second of all is our information from credible sources. And so that's when we know, first of all, that the information that's on the sheet is from credible sources because they were collected from credible sources. And then the information, we just made sure they came from reliable sources online. And then finally, we're looking at kind of our explanation. And our question is, what are the differences between the three types of bees? And based on that question, we have a lot of answers here. And these are our explanations for that question. All right, now we have the last two parts of our critical thinking framework. The first one is relevance. So we have all of our data collected, we've organized it, we've made sense of the data, and now we kind of need to look back and does our data answer our question? Is it relevant to what we want to know? Is there anything that's not relevant? And actually there were a few pieces of data that were not relevant, so we just took them out. We took those sticky notes off and we put them to the side. But really what we want to do for this is we want to answer the question, what is the difference between the three types of bees? And we have a lot of great information here that we can use to make a project to explain that. So relevance, we can check that one off. Last one is point of view. And point of view can be a really fun thing to think about because typically when we think of point of view, we think of climate scientists versus climate science deniers. We have people who, accept that the world is round, and we have flat earthers, right? So when we think of point of view, we think of the kind of these radical viewpoints that are just hard for anyone to believe, right? But when projects like this, you can't really take this controversial viewpoint, right? But you can take a viewpoint of one of the bees. And that's what Callan's going to do. He is going to take the perspective of one of the three bees and tell the story of these different facts and piece of information from the viewpoint of himself as a solitary bee, a honeybee, or a bumblebee. And that's going to put a fun twist on it. And because he's decided that he wants to create a video that's kind of an informational video, just talking about the different types of bees. And he's going to make it fun and put a little twist on that video by changing his point of view and his perspective. So that essentially is a critical thinking framework. We literally did that in, 30, 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
So not long, easy to do. Again, if you don't want to spend a ton of time doing research on the internet, literally you have everything that you need right here, and you can use that too on your data sheet. All right, have fun and good luck going through the critical thinking process. And then we'll also, here in a little bit, we'll take you through our project process to show you what that looks like as well. All right, have a good one.
Bye.